I'm going to call the meeting to order for the pledge of allegiance to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the minutes of July 20th, 2023.
So moved.
I'll second.
Fritz? Second? Okay. Any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Approval of the treasurer's report, which is enclosed in your packet. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second? Any further discussion on treasurer's report? Hearing none? All in favor? Aye. We will do our advertising of the 2024 meeting scheduled dates, which is enclosed. And I will authorize the administrative secretary to send selection letters in December. Now, I'm going to start with Jill. Let's have, please, an introduction of everyone, make sure so we know who's all here.
Jill Dunlop, Westmead Township.
John Leffingwell, Pine Township.
Commissioner Eric Henry.
Rob Horvath, Vernon Township.
Fritz Snyder, Vernon.
Gerald Levitt, Ford.
Rebecca Hazen, Meadville Tribune.
Mike Overall, Hayfield Township.
Jennifer McLeod, Hayfield Township. Gretchen Myers, Meadville.
Garrett Brewster, Ford Corporation.
And I am Lyle Hoodler, Salisbury Township. So we are now going to talk to Gretchen, or she's going to talk to us.
We didn't get the budget and the meetings motions, did we?
Not the meetings.
Okay.
No. So you need for the meetings. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, we did, it looked, didn't we just do the minutes and the treasurer's report?
Yes.
I think we need to do the budget, so C, D, and E, right?
Yes, you're right.
I
I'm
missed
sorry,
it.
I wasn't thinking right. Yes, the budget was enclosed. Do we have any questions on that? Hearing none, I need a motion to approve the budget.
I'll make a motion.
Second, I'll second it. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Meeting scheduled dates, it was enclosed. Need a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
And authorize the secretary to send delegate selection letters in December. Need that in the form of a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, now we're even.
Sorry.
Back to normal.
I just wanted to
My
make sure I didn't
fault.
miss them.
No, it was my fault.
Here, this is a little PowerPoint.
Okay,
Tim.
Gretchen?
Hi.
Yes.
I'm Gretchen Myers with the City of Meadville, and I guess I wanted to just talk about the LST tax, because for Meadville, it's really fallen behind, and I actually wanted to know how the townships felt. And I didn't know which order to do that in. So I guess I would be curious to know, if we went around, if you would have a thought, like, the LST, it's meeting our needs. Are you familiar with it as a supervisor, or just your involvement? So I'd just like to actually start with that, if that's all right. If anyone has a thought, Eric, if you have thoughts like on the county in terms of LST.
It doesn't really affect us, I'll let you guys talk about it, so.
Yeah.
So I'll go out and say, I have, kind of looked into this recently.
Yeah.
Obviously, when they made the change in 2007 and went to the 52 from 10, that
Yeah.
was, a dramatic increase in revenue for Vernon Township. We bring in, when that change first happened, we were bringing in 100 or 310,000 or so a year. And it kind of, slowly increased. COVID, obviously, we saw a drop off. And now we were kind of hopeful that we would see that kind of pick back up once, at post-COVID, but we're not really seeing that. And we kind of feel like we have lost jobs in the township because some of our larger employers, such as like a Walmart or even some of the mid-sized ones like a McDonald's, Sheetz even, you're starting to see a lot of these self-checkouts. Self-checkouts, limit the amount of employees that are needed. So now we're seeing, a few less employees in some of these places that used to, maybe they went from employing, 30 people to now it's down to like 20. And, they're still getting by because, through automation. And now Walmart, obviously it's, we lost the the cashiers, but you have the shoppers now for the online. But, that's where we're at. I mean, it's kind of plateaued and, it's not meeting our needs now in a sense because, we're not seeing any growth on it and it's been stagnant at that $52 since, 07 and, $52 in 2007 went a lot farther than $52 goes, in 2023. So, we did, send a letter to our legislatures, it was like last year. Specifically, we were kind of looking at it as obviously, the LST tax goes to supporting public safety. So we were looking at that kind of as what we thought was a more appropriate way for the township to fund services such as EMS or other fire and stuff. We felt it was more appropriate to go through the local service tax rather than the property tax. We feel the local service tax is, I don't like any taxes, but, the local service tax is, we feel a good tax, and, it does tax the users, the employees that are working in your municipality. I mean, they're utilizing your roads to get to their jobs, they're utilizing your emergency services. So we felt, using the LST tax to kind of pay for those things is a good tax. Yeah, I'd say that's Vernon Township's perspective on it, unless Fritz, you have anything to add?
No, you said it well. It's something that we've been concerned about, that's for sure, because it's pretty much flatline. It's, it hasn't really shown much spikes, and we look at it and use it in our budget, actually, and how we look at things. And so it's a good discussion point.
Yeah. How about Jockford Pine?
We're still at we're not into that.
You're not into, yeah. Well, I think if you even, not to jump around in terms of the PowerPoint little paper here, but I do think like state-wise, it would be good if maybe we're capped. So like cities, or maybe even Vernon, you'd cap it at a certain amount. And then if you're like, we don't really need local services tax that much. Like, it seems like statewide, we should be able to like have that flexibility because you may not need it. You don't have police and fire, and you might not need it for roads, and wouldn't really be that helpful.
So you wanted to go from 52 to 104?
Oh no, that's like an option. It was I think it was in the, like that is like one of the options. Like I think that's like something out there to like keep up with. To just say, it's easy to go, well, if it were $2 a week instead of $1 a week for people that are, coming in and using roads in this case in the city, And again, I think that idea of a cap is a really smart thing because you may not need it like at Hayfield, or you might. I don't know. I just again would be curious to know, like to go around to see. How about for you?
Yeah, we need anything we can get, but I don't like taxes either, so.
Yeah.
I guess I haven't researched it enough to give you a good answer.
Yeah. Anything for either, Garrett, or what?
You can look at every one of us in here and we all got the same idea. We don't like taxes.
Yeah.
However, in order to live and move and go ahead, you actually, sometimes you have to have the taxes. I'm not in favor of raising it, but then again, we're sort of different in Salisbury because there's not too many jobs there at all, you know, it's very,
Yeah.
very limited. So it's not like Vernon where you got doom. We don't have that. We maybe
Yeah.
have the Ford garage and a couple places that are machine shops. And then that's the majority of ours right there, so.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I would like to see more money somehow, but not on
Yeah,
the expense of
yeah,
my constituents.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I think, well, I did this because so this presentation is about Meadville, you know, and I feel like Meadville is in this situation where, you know, I think a lot of you might be aware that it's at the county seat and it has 44% of the property is tax exempt. So we do have some large employers in the Allegheny and Meadville Medical Center, Channellock, and C&J. So, you know, thank goodness. You know, I know last night I was looking, or 2 nights ago, I was at a meeting and pretty much most of Meadville is actually low to moderate income beyond a couple of places where that isn't true. So, you know, the old housing stock, there's a lot that factor in, but yet, you know, I feel like it is a vital hub and it's important that Meadville is here, you know, that we didn't section it off and be like, we're just gonna send you all off to Vernon and divide the town up, you know, like here you can have these problems. I don't even know where that came from, but I mean like worst case scenario if you were to dissolve Meadville. But it does have, you know, it does have like this hub function. So I just went through like the occupational tax to the LST, kind of like a history for Meadville, and I think pretty much for everybody. I'm not sure, like, you know, didn't live here in 1965. So in 1965, the occupational privilege tax, or OPT, was $10. In today's dollars, it's actually worth $97. And the current LST is $52. Then from 1987 to 2005, that occupational privilege tax increased. Like that's when it, that's like the income that we got from that. And then around 2005, it became the EMST, the Emergency Medical Services Tax. And that's when it jumped to $52 a year. 2005 to 2007, that was the average revenue is this $632,000. Then they realized that, well, you know, you're taxing people for a whole year and maybe they're only working 3. So that was a loss in revenue at that point. It was obviously more fair because you probably shouldn't be taxing people for weeks that they aren't working. So it did represent a loss to the city at that point. So that's kind of like an overview. So Tim Groves, our city finance person, he, you know, I said, you know, I think it helps if you can put it in terms of like who it's actually paying. And so in 2008, the average policeman's salary was $73,000. So it supported 6.3 policemen. And today, that same total supports the 3.43 policemen. I can say that, you know, in terms of like our police, I've been very pro like them having a pension. We did reach a place where we couldn't afford good police officers, so when we would go to recruit officers, we're definitely not getting the top third of the graduating class, and we met with recruiters and they're like, you don't have pensions, you know, you're not offering a decent salary. So at some point you realize you have to be able to offer, you know, good pay to take care of your community. You know, so I kind of, for me, being a visual person, you know, it's like, wow, that's a difference. That's like, you know, pretty much like 3 police officer salaries. Then these little facts here, I turned into a graph, and don't laugh at my graph. I'm not a graph person, but it just did kind of show how the consumer price index, which has gone up every year, 2.64%, you know, versus the the EIT, which has gone up 1.9%, that's the earned income tax. And then the city mills tax, has gone up 1.62. So it was interesting, because, I mean, the orange is here's the CPI, and the earned income tax, I was kind of surprised, actually is kind of like, I thought it was going to be way down. So I was kind of glad to see that, it's kind of at least better, doing slightly better. The property tax isn't keeping up. And then I did this little tiny thing here just showing that the local service tax, is a fee, just a flat fee, has not really, it's not doing what it's supposed to do. And so as a result, I feel like it really is hitting property tax, property owners heavy. And, I'll go with Jim Roja, because he always tells a story about, and I'm like, Jim, you're talking about me, that retired lady who's struggling to make ends meet, and she's living on Medicare. And I'm like, Jim, that would be me. So because we are an aging population in Meadville. So I think that's just to kind of show, is there a better way to balance taxation that might serve people better and in a more fair way? To me, it just seems like, changing the LST to be more effective so that we don't maybe have to raise property taxes, so we don't maybe have to dip into other kind of possible pots for revenue might be a way to go.
Well, if you advocated for the doubling of the LST tax, would you reduce property taxes?
I don't know that it seems to me like, just I'm looking at housing right now, because I'm hoping to maybe move, get a different house. I don't know that it would go down, but I'm hoping it would keep it the same. I don't know. I mean, that I don't.
Well, and I only say that with all due respect to you, Gretchen. Is as a guy for 4 years, and even I'm getting yelled at every day because it's budget week, and from other department heads. After the sale of the care center, which was certainly a tough decision but necessary, the only way that the county is balancing their budget with no tax increase is reduce the size of government, and that's what we've been doing for 4 years. We went from over 600 employees. We'll have 510 when we're done, and we went from a fleet of 50 vehicles to 29 vehicles, and we've been doing that every year. My point with that being is when you looking for revenue only, and you're not looking for ways to cut expenses, then that's when taxes become more of a challenge for townships and individuals, because nobody wants to hear that. I mean, I know, in all due respect, it's different for Pine, who might have, how many people work in Pine Township? Half a dozen or a dozen people. Doubling that and tripling that won't even affect them. Westmead would help, and Vernon would help a little bit, but at the end of the day, the taxpayers, when you double their LST tax, then you have the people inside Meadville who work here. You might have businesses say, well, I'm going to move out if it's here double, but not in Westmead or Vernon either. There's also that point you have to make, because you could alienate some business owners who would say, well, I don't want to pay my employees pay twice the amount of LST tax as they would in Vernon to get well, in all fairness, the same service, fire and now police from you, but in EMS. So that's just my 2 cents. Is unless you can say we'll reduce property tax, I don't think that the regular taxpayer is going to be happy with paying twice as much just for a right to work in the
these are not my ideas on the last.
Oh, I know, but I've heard.
I think
you guys floated some ideas to the representative about this, and he had referred to me, and I had told him the same thing. It was more than double in some of your guys' ideas, and it was up to $250 or something like that a year just to have a right to work in Meadville. I think you would deter a lot of people from developing business here. So.
I think so. I do. I think so. But I also think I think that there's got to be a way to. I just feel that property tax and just going and being like, oh yeah, our only thing we can go to now is property tax. When perhaps this other thing, I'm not a predictor of the future. I would hope that it would help to keep property taxes the same, so that it would be more fair. I also think that it should be a cap. Because if you look at cities that are home rule, that have more flexibility in fees, and most people that go home rule, do the Act 47, which means they declare bankruptcy, and that is actually a lot of the pathway for third-class cities like Meadville, which, I don't want that to happen. So that's how come I'm like, hey, is there a way, is there something that you see? So you as the county commissioner, how would you say, hey, I think to solve the plight of third-class cities, what is that? Like, you might have a unique, that's how come I wanted to do this, to have a unique perspective.
My 2 cents is the same thing. We're school districts and municipalities and our own individuals. We all expect each and every one of us to live within our means, and that's what we have to do. And if your government keeps getting larger and you keep hiring more people, you're in all fairness to some of the wage expenses, like your temporary financial guy makes $102,000 a year. That's $30,000 more than the county CFO makes with a $70 million budget. Those are decisions that I think come back on you in regards to revenue. That's just the truth.
Well, that's
people look at that and see that. So
I didn't know that. I mean, you do want to look at like what is.
And I'm all about paying police officers, but if you look comparative wages of police officers to maybe what Westmead pays, I know what they pay is less, of course. That does factor into expenses, and I think that's important to talk about because. And I do understand you have to provide the service and it's necessary, but at the end of the day, all third-class towns and cities go through bankruptcy because their revenue side, they're trying to find more revenue, but their expenses are not being cut; they're just being expanded every year. Well, that's why I'd be opposed to it because that's really it's another.
But maybe avenue. It's another problem that maybe I think it's a different problem. I don't know that I think third-class cities are kind of strapped with certain problems, and one being the issue of the tax exempt properties.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean,
that's like a big thing. The idea that we are going to be the place where low to moderate income people are going to.
And I'll tell you, just in the last 2 weeks, in fact, today we have a hearing this afternoon to rule on them. We had 2 entities bringing 11 homes off the tax rolls. 9 of them, or 8 of them, I believe, are in the city of Meadville, a couple are West Mead and one in Vernon. We actually fight tooth and nail, but there's this is a state law. If the solicitor says, listen, they meet all the qualifications, we don't have a choice as an assessment appeals board to say, sorry, you're going to have to pay some taxes. I mean, we even talked about maybe they could at least pay the municipal tax, not even the county or the school district tax, but something, because you still need your road plowed, you still need a police officer, you still need a fireman. But I can't tell you the number of homes in the 4 years I've been there that have been removed from the tax roll from different nonprofit entities who are providing service. And they provide a great service, and no one wants them not to provide service.
Right, yeah.
But every one of those homes that come off the tax roll is just increasing the cost of taxes for everybody else in the county. Right. So today I think we're actually going to vote no, I believe, on those appeals because of how the structure is. Most of the times our hands are tied. I mean, churches and any entity that qualifies, the college, the hospital, they're all tax exempt, and it does affect school districts and the county as well. Of course, not just you, but And they are starting to branch out into their townships and your township a little more. I noticed too, because they can't find ranch homes. They're looking for ranch homes. I mean, that's really what they're looking for.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's a state legislative issue that maybe PSATs or Borough Association could get behind, is looking at. At least paying some portion of the local tax, the township tax, because you still got to provide the services, and I think that's where it does affect people negatively. So
yeah, well, I guess but don't you think that perhaps like if you're looking at like the LST tax, I mean, it isn't keeping up with what it's supposed to do. Like, let's just say in the ideal world, Meadville, let's say Meadville was balancing stuff. To me, it still seems like even then, like let's say Vernon is balancing stuff. This still isn't keeping up. I mean, that's the basic thing. I mean, I get what you're saying, and, as a council person, my job is to say, how can we, part of it is how can we cut, how can we, increase or decrease our expenses and increase our revenues. But so for me, I mean, it just seems like this just isn't keeping up. Can you agree on that, idea?
Oh, I think if you compare it to the date, yeah, but like everything else the state ties into, whether it be reimbursement for ambulance services or any other reimbursement for processes, even these guys when they deal with roads and they'll probably discuss liquid fuels about how much you should be paid for liquid fuels. The number is never attached to the CPI, and unfortunately, and I've told Brad this and other state representatives, the only thing that is attached to CPI is their salaries. So, like a 7.8% increase in all state representative salaries, it's attached to the CPI. If the LST tax was attached to that, then you guys could calculate it out and go, this year it's this. I think that's fair. But that's not how the state makes those rules. They put it in place, and I'll use the 901 surcharge fee for example. It's $1.65 to pay for the 901 center, not attached to the CPI. And so in order for that to change, you need another law to pass and an increase. and that gives the ability for people to argue back and forth. But if you notice, they're not arguing their salaries because they've actually tied it to something that's automatic.
Well, that's, I guess,
So
what
I
we're getting
think
it to
that
be.
could work.
Yeah.
I mean, you could
Yeah.
tie it to an inflationary number or something.
That's kind
but
of the one, you know, that it should, yeah, keep up with. That's kind of.
certainly any
Yeah.
flat revenue stream is certainly a challenge. So.
Yeah, I just think that it would be, yeah, to me, I mean, like if you even, take all that aside, I think
Sure.
that there is that common ground that, yeah, if it were, you know, in terms of moving that forward on the state level, that's that whole other wall, like we know. But yeah, so thank you. That was really, I mean, is there anything else you would want to add to that? Like, just, you're probably like, oh, we're glad we don't live in Meadville, they have problems.
If you only knew.
If you, we could use it as a therapy moment.
Right.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Thank you. That was, I mean, that's really all I had, is just and thank you so much, Eric, for chiming in with your thoughts.
I will say for West Mead, you know, we had the $10 OP tax for
Yeah.
years, and we were one of the last ones when they did increase at the legislators, because it has to be done at the legislative,
Right.
you know, branch. So we were one of the last ones to go to the $52. We like to cut, we like to, you know,
Yeah.
try and work and live within our means. So that being said, to just put another tax on the working people who are already paying earned income and everything else,
Yeah.
the $52 was a big step up from the $10. But, so, and, you know, we try and not raise taxes, try and not raise, so we've done a lot of what Eric's saying, the cutting, the consolidating, or trying to, you know, live within our budget. But I do know, when we were doing the EMS, when we had those meetings here last year, or within this last year, a lot of people, not just the city of Meadville, but, and I think Vernon, some of them, you had sent a letter, but some of the people wanted that option. So even though maybe we're not in favor of it, or if we are, or maybe these will be things discussed at the budget, since we're working on our budget for West Mead. But that being said, just to have the option, that's where some people wanted to just be able to say, hey, now we can do the 104 or whatever it would be. Or if you don't want to do it, you know, if you don't want to do it, then you don't have to. It's not mandated. That's really, I think,
Yeah.
that's what we don't want to see, is a definite mandate that, you know, it's
Yeah.
passed along for us to do even more, or have to, you know, spend more than we ever had before. I will say that, because we used to go, we went from, say, $20,000 a year up to $75,000 a year is what we collect. But that being said, now doing it through Berkheimer, who collects our LST and our earned income, even though it's $1 a check or $1 a week, $2 if you pay bi-weekly, but that money comes in quicker. It actually is collected on a more consistent basis. It's, you know, so instead of maybe a different method, the electronic payments, that, you know, helps as far as kind of leveling it out for the year. So that's been a nice option.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
But I don't know what, you know, I think where we stand now is, when Gretchen first wanted to discuss this, the people that are really involved and really kind of in the know are Terry Kunkel from DCED, and also Bill Leonard from Berkheimer. He does it on the collection end. And then we had invited Michelle Brooks. We tried to get everybody to get the same meeting, and they weren't able to come. But then we're going to have them. They all are available to come to the January meeting. So we'll have them, and Terry has a presentation, maybe addressing some of the things you want to see, or, you know, or anybody has any questions, you're more than welcome. We'll get all that information out.
Okay,
Great.
sounds good.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Garrett?
Well,
You're up.
all right. See if I can get this thing going. Switch gears, I guess.
Do you want the lights off?
Oh, yeah, we'll see. Oh, there we go. Okay. Just make sure everybody can see it.
I guess we can shut the, oh, if you want to. Mike?
while this is loading, in case anybody missed it, I'm Garrett Brewster, I'm with Florida Corporation, that's Garrett Lovett. Yeah, so I'll just get started here while this is loading. Let's see. Only have about 15 minutes. This. Okay. Can everybody see that all right? How's that?
Okay.
Good? Okay. So I'm Garrett Brewster, I'm with Ford Corporation. We are a Pennsylvania-based company. If you don't know where Grove City is, just about a half hour south here. We were founded in 1978. We've been putting fibers in concrete for about 45 years. We've been putting fibers in asphalt since 2008. So I'm going to start with two quick videos. This one here is just an asphalt flexibility video. The reason I like to show this is because most of you guys have probably been there before, or some of you, where you go out to do a repair, right, and you do a saw cut, and you go to lift the asphalt, and what happens? It just crumbles and falls apart, right? So this here was originally taken actually at a Blackhawk facility. It was taken with like an old grainy flip phone, and so we recreated this video, but you'll see there where they made their saw cuts, and then lift that with a single anchor bolt. All right, so what our fiber is going to do is it's going to reduce your cracking, okay, it's going to reduce your rutting, all right, and it's going to extend the life of your pavement. And you'll see here whenever he lowers this back down, kind of how it flexes. And that's what our fiber is going to create, is this three-dimensional durability. You'll see here, lowers it down, you see how it flexes right back. The next video, and I like to put this in here because I get asked a lot, is it, a lot of people are familiar with fiber for concrete, so I get asked a lot, is it the same as concrete fiber? And the answer is no. So this is a finishability video, and you'll see here, this was actually at one of our national accounts, Home Depot in Osprey, Minnesota. And the reason I say it's not the same as concrete fiber is one, because it's easy to spec, all right? There's no change to your mix design. It's added right at the asphalt plant. You don't have any finishing problems. You know, with like concrete fiber, sometimes you have to burn them off. You don't have that with the asphalt fiber. And you just pave it like normal. Just a quick video. So I added this slide here because how many people on the way here, just by show of hands, probably drove over a crack or a pothole on the way here today?
I was in Vernon, it was terrible.
Right. So probably all of us, right? So with winter around the corner, what do cracks turn into? Potholes, right? Water gets in there, it expands, it turns into potholes. So you guys are gonna be taking calls from taxpayers that little Johnny flipped his bicycle, right, in this pothole that you can go fishing in. So that's what we want to do, right? That's what our fiber is going to do. Okay, again, we want to reduce those common distresses. All right, the cracking, the rutting. Okay, we want to extend the life of your pavement. The biggest application that we see right now, okay, is like on 1.5-inch mill and fills and 2-inch overlays. That's where we have the most data. So what is Fortify? Okay, and how does it work? So I'll pass this around here, but so it's just a 1 pound bag, okay, and what you'll see in there is there's 3/4 inch fibers, all right? There's 2.1 ounces of aramid fiber in there, which aramid is just another name for Kevlar. It's like what they make bulletproof vests out of. So it's really strong and withstands high heat. And then the rest of it is just polyolefin, which is just plastic. And the polyolefin is going to act as like a carrier, more or less, and it's going to help with the disbursement. Without that polyolefin in there, all you would get is just big clumps, okay? So let me ask you this, how many individual strands of fiber? So we dose it at 1 pound per ton, all right? And again, in that bag, there's 2.1 ounces of Kevlar, of aramid. How many individual strands of fiber do you think are in that bag that reinforces a ton of action?
1 million.
1 million, okay, that's a pretty good guess.
Really?
Yeah, anybody else? Just a guess?
Guess, Robbie.
100,000.
100,000? There's actually
250,000.
250, okay, there's actually 19 million.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so there's 19 million strands.
I knew it was a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
Wow.
So how does it work, right? these fibers kind of act like little claws, all right? They go searching for each other. Again, that's why the polyolefin is important. And that's what's gonna create that three-dimensional matrix. And so what you'll see in your mix here is just, you'll see these like 3 to 4 inch, 5 to 6 inch strands of asphalt. Okay, where in normal asphalt, you don't see that, right? It just will fall right off that spoon. So again, it's easy to bid, it's easy to spec, no change to your mix design, no change to the asphalt plan at all, and you just pave, no change to the process at all, really, just pave like normal. We are on PennDOT's APL Bulletin 15, so you can use your liquid fuel money also. So where in the world is Fortify? We're in 56 countries. Some cool places we are. They're kind of fun is like the Autobahn. NASA uses us. Some national accounts like Home Depot, Love's Truck Stops, Walmart. City of Meadville actually used us this year, which I'll show you the project. District 1 uses us on problem roadways. So like for instance on like brick overlays. The city of Titusville, there was a brick overlay there that they use. Let's see, and then we're working on some projects, hopefully with PennDOT in 2024 also. This is another question I get asked a lot, right, is like how do we add it? So just a quick video I added. So for smaller jobs, and that's roughly, let's say 0 to 1 to 1,000 tons. You just, all they're gonna do is the producer's just gonna put a bag on the conveyor belt. So depending on how fast they're running, they might be adding a bag 1 every 15 seconds or 1 every 30 seconds. And again, we ship it directly to the producer. You as the township or the municipality, you just would need your engineer to spec it, right? Or you would spec it into the road that you want. For larger jobs, we have an automated feeder system. I won't go into too much detail into this, but it is automated. Most of the plants already in Pennsylvania, since we're PA based, are already set up with this. And if they don't have a machine like on site, we can take one to them, it's no problem. It only takes about 45 minutes to load. Runs off plant power, those hold about 400 pounds, so they can run quite a while on those. But that's for a little bit larger jobs. So now that I've told you what it is, right, how we add it, and there's no change to the specs or your mix design, we'll show you some of the results. So this is kind of like an extreme example, but I'll explain why we like to show it. This was in Lancaster, California. And if you can see up here, it's a little blurry, but here's another picture. This road probably needs full reconstruction, right? Like it's pretty bad. But they didn't want to do that. They wanted to do a 2-inch mill and fill on that. So that's what we did. And so keep in mind, just because you're using an additive, fiber's not going to make bad roads great. It's going to make good roads great. You still need to follow good paving practices. So after 7 months, there was cracks that reflected through on the side without fiber on the control side. There was still none on the fiber side. 2 years later, they went back and looked at this road again. Cracks had started to reflect through on the fiber side, but the cracking was reduced by 90%. All right, it's a little blurry, but you can see it a little bit here. But that's what the reason why we show this, okay, is so that we try to get the owners to understand. We don't want to tell you that you're not going to have any cracks, all right? We don't want to mislead you like that. But we want you to see how many cracks are being withheld from the fiber. And this shows a good example of that. And what's that going to do, really? We just talked in the beginning about the wintertime cracks turning into potholes. It's going to reduce your maintenance costs. And I'll show you a picture here in a minute with a project we had done with crack seal. You'll see the difference. This was another example. This was a PennDOT road. This was I-81 in Lackawanna County. It was control versus fiber. They did a mile both lanes of fiber and then a mile both lanes of fiber, or no fiber, I'm sorry. Is anyone familiar with PCI, Pavement Condition Index? Have you heard of that? No? It's basically like a report card for a road. So PennDOT has this fancy machine that they put on the back of their truck, and they drive down the road, and it's gonna tell them all their distresses, right? Low, medium, high, the amount of rutting, cracking, and they get a score. So just like a report card, 100 is a brand new road, 55 is normally whenever it needs to be replaced. So after 3 years, there was an 81% reduction in cracking. With the fatigue cracking, this is crazy. On the control side, there was over 2,700 square feet, okay? On the fiber side, there was 32, so big difference. This was Route 3036. This was also another PennDOT job. And the reason I show you these is because we can't fake the data. They monitor it. So this was done in 2011. This was an 1.5-inch overlay. After 4 years, the PCI on this was 93 versus 69. But then what PennDOT said, right, was they wanted to know how much extension of life are we going to get out of this? All right, so we took all this data, we sent it to Penn State and Arizona State University, and they put in their computers, and they came back and they said approximately 5-year life extension on this road. So this was, in the beginning I mentioned the 100 road study that we did in Pine Township. This is Pine Township, like near Pittsburgh. But you'll see here, this was when it was done in 2012, this was 5 years later, and you can see the amount of crack seal on the control side, none on the fiber side. And so think, like that, if you could reduce even just your crack sealing alone by 60%, what would that do for your township? And again, so with this study, what we wanted to try to figure out was what is the worst case, what is the best case scenario? All right, so we had a third party, Joe Kindler and Associates, come in, and they looked at about 100 roads in Pine Township. These were 6 of the roads that he did, just as an example. And you'll see here, the yellow is the fortify side, and then the black is the control side. And the reason we put this in here, just so you can see the consistency. So I'm sorry that it's blurry, but. And then here's the deterioration curve that they came up with. And the blue curve up here, this is regular hot mix asphalt. All right, and basically what they found is it runs relatively steady until around year 7 to 10, and then that's whenever it dips off. With the Fortify asphalt, it'll run, it starts to deteriorate much slower. All right, and it actually ran out to, I believe, year 17. And so what they found was the worst case with the worst base, all right, they would see a minimum 3.5-year life extension, whereas a best case scenario, it was a 7-year life extension. So on average, the control life was 10 years, where the Fortify side was 16 years. And we have the full there's a 22-page report on that. If you guys ever want to see that, or want me to send you that, I can gladly do that. It's kind of cool. I put this in here too because we're kind of rural in some of these areas. I don't know if you guys deal with any like horse and buggy, Amish, truck or issues on the road. So this was done in Wilmington, PA. And we had actually seen, this was with PennDOT, there was like a 60 to 80% reduction in rut depth compared to the control side. And that road's still like that today. I just went and looked at it not long ago, and all they've done is tar and chipped it one time. So it still looks good. This was a multi-project we did with City of Erie. This was in 2018. I think we did about 15 roads. This one here was 8th Street and Raspberry Street. That was just this year. And they were comparing fiber versus FDR, full depth reclamation, and they don't do full depth reclamation anymore. It sounds like they just use fiber. And this was actually Bessemer Street right here in the city of Meadville, if you guys know where Voodoo Brewery is. So that was just done this year. That was about 800 tons. There's a lot of truck traffic on that road, and that has fiber in it. So we'll follow those roads too. We like to see how they turn out. This one here was a national account. This was Home Depot. And the reason we like to show those is just because they have a very intense vetting process. And again, loves truck stops. There's one right off 79, like by Slippery Rock. That was like 15,000 tons. That has Fortify in it. Finally, this was another Loves in Newton, North Carolina. And so yeah, to wrap it up, really, I guess I just challenge you guys to think about, what roads do you have that could use Fortify? We want to be an asset to you guys. We want to help you. I'll be at the convention next week, and so if you guys think of anything, even if you want us to bring our engineer out, we've done that for a lot of townships. We'll gladly come out, take a look at a road for you, try to help you out. That's what we want to do. So any kind of references or referrals you need to, we can provide that as well. So that's all I got. I hope it didn't take too much time.
What does it do to the cost?
I would say around here, it's a good question. You'll see, we like to say about 8 to 10% of your total laydown cost, in place cost. Yeah, now it goes to bid, so you'll have, you know, the producers bidding on it together, but
And on an average, it gets you at least 5 more years.
you should see 3.5 to 6 year life extension, correct? Yep, exactly. And that's with the data we have, you know, it's hard for me to say, I can't guarantee you 5 years, but yeah. Anything else? Any other
We've
questions?
actually, had even this year, you also did beechwood, maple for the city, and we went in with that for our little section.
Oh, was that
You
the
guys did.
patches? Yeah,
Mhm,
okay,
yeah.
sure.
So,
yeah.
You've been around,
Yeah.
and now that it's under liquid fuels eligible to pay for, there's been, you've been around, so.
Yeah, we got approved, I don't know, do you know when that was? That was a long time ago. 2013, yeah.
Yeah, because before it was an option, but we couldn't really make use of it because a lot of us use liquid fuels to pay for our road project.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And you don't run into any issues with your supplier, like a Lindy or something, adding that to the
No,
mix?
no, most of the time, and we even have pavers that can attest to this too, there's really not much of a difference at all, even in their paving. You know, you sometimes they gotta scrape, their shovels and stuff off a little bit more, because you'll see those strands of fiber, but no issues. We work with Lindy, Shields, I'm trying to think who else is around here. McCormick, yeah, so no issues. And we're already established with all of them, so.
Can you just put it in the wearing surfaces as far as like 9.5 millimeter or 19? Or
Yeah, you can do, so Pine Township in Pittsburgh, they do, the wearing and the binder, yeah. So, yep, it's,
Now, there's other folks out here doing that, out there?
you mean in Pennsylvania, or like
Well,
in?
with the added product, there's other
Oh,
companies.
yeah, so like, for instance, like Pittsburgh area has Pine Township, Blaunox, Fox Chapel. Pine Township uses it in all their roads. Blaunox, Fox Chapel, Bradford Woods. Up here, City of Erie, City of Meadville this year.
My question, I'm sorry, it was, do you have competition?
Oh, well, there is, we do have competition, correct. And I think you have to, right, to be on the APL. So yeah, we do, yeah, we have a competitor. They actually left Ford Corporation. But yes.
All right.
Oh yeah, and I have folders here. I probably stopped at most of your townships. I've been around, Crawford County, so, but yeah, I have folders here, feel free to take one, and hopefully I'll see some of you guys next week.
Can I ask
And
you
again,
two
thank
questions
you.
real quick?
Yeah, of
Like,
course.
So it doesn't go in as that little bag?
Yeah, you put the bag in too.
I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't, I'm picturing it on the road, there's like a bag of, how does it break down?
So the
Does that make
plastic,
sense?
Disintegrates.
yeah,
It just disintegrates, okay.
The
Yeah.
hotness of the blacktop.
yeah.
And then I have another question,
Yeah.
it's how does that, does it like with water, because we're such a, is there an advantage, can you speak to anything about like water and?
I've been asked that before, like I had a township out near like Harrisburg asked, they wanted to put it near, it was like in a flood zone. I mean, we don't really have any tests on that, like where I could say, yeah, it's gonna be great for your flood
It's gonna
zone.
do that or not, we don't have.
Right, no, it's gonna hold that fiber together, which is gonna hold the fines together, and it's gonna reduce the cracking. But as far as putting it in a flood zone, if that's what you're asking, I
Kind
can't
of, yeah,
really
pretty
tell you.
much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, could you say,
We've used it in everything, fluke, spike pass. I mean, we know one thing, that when we add it, we see about 80% reduction in running. So anything you add it to an asphalt, it's gonna be better than what it was normally, so.
Okay.
no, thank you.
Yeah, you get water over the road.
My Bessemer Street's like
Yeah.
a whole new, but it's amazing the difference.
Yeah, it looks really good, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I use it daily, so.
Oh, do you? Okay,
Yeah.
nice, yeah.
What?
And they do get a lot of truck
Garrett, make sure you let them
Well, I
know.
know you should say for.
Oh, yeah, and there's we put some sandwiches up here too, guys, help yourself.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, that was interesting.
Some other business that we have to talk about here. A tire committee, or do we want to have the tire event this year?
We have a tire committee already set up,
Okay.
so, but if the members for next year, for 2024, we kind of already have it in the budget, but we need grant funding. So if people are interested in a tire event, then the tire committee should meet and kind of,
What is a
Move
tire
forward.
event?
it's where, up at the fairgrounds, every 2 years usually, we have a trailer or somebody come in with a 53-foot trailer and then volunteers. We'll load up.
A few volunteers.
We'll load up the tires and, you know, people bring them up, they're allowed so many per
Okay.
truck or trailer. And then there's usually a cost, a little donation, but it's cheaper than getting rid of them like at a
Yeah.
tire shop. So then they're hauled away and recycled, made into different things. And then that way it's kind of a one-day event, just a few hours, and gets rid of tires out of the environment.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, it worked very good last year. I mean, we filled that
Yeah.
tractor trailer up and wow, unbelievable amount of people running tires.
We've had like 8 different events now, and we've got rid of about 10,000 tires out of,
Wow.
whether it's French Creek or at least in the surrounding areas, the municipalities.
Can we turn that into asphalt? Is that possible?
I was thinking the same. I
It'd be amazing.
Yeah,
That's what they do, they do, right now, they grind.
Yeah,
grind
they do.
tire.
Ah.
Yep.
we're in the wrong business then.
Yeah.
That's how old they are.
Yeah.
And
Tired.
the other thing is the nomination committee, if they're still on the line, do we still have a nomination
mhm.
committee? Okay,
And they'll meet usually not till December, even into January,
Right.
or in the beginning of January, after the municipalities' reorganizational meetings. Then the nominating committee will make the recommendation at the January meeting of the COG for
okay,
committee members or.
all right. Make sure that Lyle Hoovler's name is scratched. He's been on it too long. There's time for other people to take over. And I
Robbie.
greatly appreciate it.
As chairman.
Congratulations.
You're-
As chairman, yes.
Okay. So step up if anybody wants to.
Someone that can step up.
Hey, I'll trade the treasurer's duties. That's an easy trade.
Oh,
Someone-
okay, okay.
We'll get
You wanna be
someone.
treasurer?
I'll trade that. Find somebody else to be the treasurer.
We'll find the treasurer. Won't we?
Nobody wants to be secretary.
You have to be.
I don't hear anybody volunteering for secretary. No.
No, I started
the
out
nominating
like
committee will
as,
see.
just because someone quit or something, and it was gonna be, oh, only a year, then it was 2 years, then it was 5 years, then it was 10 years, it's like,
Oh my goodness.
stop, just stop. But it's
So I
been
wrote down the
enjoyable.
minutes, so you'll be okay.
Okay. All right. Is there any other business we gotta bring up? Yes.
I have one thing real quick. Just wanted to bring it up because, so I'm also on the County Fire Commission. Last night, a subgroup of the County Fire Commission kind of met to go over, I'm sure you guys saw recently, like Vernon Township set up a ordinance and a program where volunteer firemen, if they meet certain criteria, would have their property taxes waived and would receive a $500 earned income tax credit. So the County Fire Commission wanted to kind of look at that to set something up for the county level, because the laws that the state legislature passed allow for the county to do that as well as far as property taxes. So last night we kind of put together kind of some criteria that we thought we wanted to put out to the municipalities. This is something we're going to probably be doing in the next couple of months. Once the commission's kind of approved the plan. The one big thing would be, though, we would recommend that the county would do this and have municipal buy-in as well. So for the volunteers to get the county tax credit, their home municipality would also have to offer some sort of tax credit and little rebate. So that would, the home municipality participating as well as the county. So it's just something that, we're kind of working on, and looking to do for the volunteer firemen to kind of help retain the volunteer firemen that we have.
So that we need to do.
And I'll segue into, I think that I appreciate Vernon taking kind of taking the head of the steam here, and there are about 4 counties in the Commonwealth who are doing this now. And it's not necessarily all of your taxes, it's a reduction, but in some cases. But the key to it is we all know how important the volunteer fire departments are. And we all know that. Like if we had 0 volunteer fire departments and we'd have to pay municipalities, responsibilities to pay, but pay for fire service, it would break us. It would break this county. We would be in deep financial distress. And so with Robbie doing that and looking at some of the other counties, we're trying to find, we don't know the estimate, we're trying to find some of that money and revenue without raising taxes to use that money to give an incentive for people to continue to volunteer in those fire departments. We don't know what it looks like exactly, but we do know that it could be an enticement we're trying to do 2 things. We're trying to retain the people we have, and everybody knows the average age of the fireman in Crawford is 51 years old right now. And we're trying to recruit new people. In Robbie's case, it helps the non-homeowners by adding the extra part. Municipalities can do. Counties can't do that. We can only control property taxes. But the other thing that we are doing is we put $25,000 of ARPA money aside for recruitment and retention for volunteer fire services. And that's going to include a phone number that will ring into the 911 center, into our hazmat office. Alan and Donnie will do that. And they'll be able to distribute, people who might want to volunteer back out to the fire departments. And we're going to do a little bit of static displays on our vehicles and put a one number solution. And so we'll be sending a letter out to you guys in our municipalities to say, hey, if you want to put a little money towards that, we would match it up to $25,000. We'd love to get $50,000, but $25,000 would do a huge dent, and that would be also school displays that the superintendents have allowed us to do, and static displays on vehicles. So we're trying to do everything we can in the fire commission to keep the volunteer fire services alive. And if we don't do that, I can't even stress how much money it would cost us all to do. So that's why the county's interested. And I think it's a good program. There was a good start last night. I think we'll have a good hard discussion about it coming up.
Good.
Do you know the other counties? I'm just curious, if I were to go, that are doing this, just to see what they're doing.
Even the newest one was Lancaster. What was the other one you mentioned last night? There was the other one that just did it. There's one that's about 3 years old.
York's doing it.
York is one. There's 3 or 4 now, and like I said, it might be $150 off their county taxes. It just depends on how you set it up. In Robbie's case, it's 100% if you meet the criteria for his township. So.
I thought the legislation was capped. I didn't know
You can.
We've been talking about it.
You can waive so it's capped on the earned income.
Yeah.
On the earned income side.
But on the property tax, you can waive up to 100%.
Yeah.
On the property tax side. So that's what we've chosen to just waive 100%. I mean, the way we look at it, Vernon Central probably has a roster of between 20 and 30 members. They have to meet 50 calls a year and meet some training requirements. Right. Just to throw numbers out there, we think it'll be probably less than $12,000 to the township's bottom line. If everybody had a home assessed at $50,000, which is above average in the township, but if they had an assessed value of $50,000, their local property tax would be $100. So if 20 of them got it, it's only $2,000 off of our property tax bill, and then the $500, obviously you have to be working to get that, but we don't look at that as detrimental to the township's bottom line compared to what we could have to pay if we didn't have the volunteers.
Okay. Anything else? Hearing nothing, our next meeting is January 18th, 2024, and it'll be at Westmead Township. I need a motion to close.
I'll make that.
Second?
Seconded. Any further discussion on our adjournment? Hearing not, we are adjourned.
What time is it?